From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
All right, so welcome back to Site Strategic's Digital Marketing News Desk. This is the bonus news podcast and video for Edge of the Web Radio, episode 339. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks. Joining me this week for the news section is Jay Acunzo, a host of the podcast Unthinkable, as well as the owner of a media company, Marketing Showrunners. So, Jay, how you doing, sir?
Thank you for having me back the third time. Are you guys lapped the web that many times? I know you're on the edge of the web, but come on.
We're building our own edges because we've gone all four of the edges. I just created a web dimension of a square. How about that? Okay, well, we certainly want to make sure that everybody listening and watching refers back to our full interview of episode 339. But we want to jump into the digital marketing news with our first article from Adweek regarding some recent news. I really kind of took everybody by storm here. Google kills the cookie, leaving digital media companies craving a new way forward. So the industry is actually racing towards a 2-year countdown, guys, is that Google actually just announced here last week that they were going to disallow third-party cookies. They're dropping third-party cookies. Well, it's not without precedent. Publishers are actually eyeing this pivotal change as a potential turnaround in what has been a difficult digital transition. So third-party cookies, if you don't know what those are, right, those are remarketing cookies. Those are tool sets to be able to capture user data and be able to move marketing materials in front of that user, as opposed to third-party cookies that are coming directly from the site you visit. Remarketing cookies and remarketing tool sets rely on those cookies on a regular basis. So quickly, before we dive deeper into the article, Jay, what was your first take whenever you heard this information?
So, I mean, full disclosure, my first job out of school was working on the AdWords team at Google.
Yep.
And there's a whole hour-long rant I can go against why I hated that job. But one of the things that I feel like we need to move back into is a world where it's contextual advertising, not behavioral. I think when you look at the behavior-based advertising out there, there's a lot of bad actors. And I also think about the human element in all of my work, really, but certainly when it comes to this news item. If you walk into a store and the clerk says, "Welcome back, Aaron. We'd like to know, what you're thinking about today," or "We already know you like to purchase this kind of thing," and instantly the entire store sort of rearranges itself for you. Amazing experience. But if you leave that store and then all of a sudden the store's shelving is like following you around the street, we wouldn't really like that, right?
Nope.
So it used to be that cookies would help people understand we need to personalize. We need to improve the experience on our own channels. Right. And I love that use of the cookie. But then you go into this sort of like duopoly of Facebook and Google and all these other marketing or ad tech companies, I should say, because remember, advertising and marketing, different things, right?
Absolutely.
Marketing is not advertising.
Harken back to our previous shows with Jay. We clarified that very
advertising is a subset of marketing.
Right.
Advertisers oftentimes are going for lowest common denominator. They're trying to squeeze everything out. They're tracking you around the internet with your data. I don't think that's the intention of good marketing, right? So I love that Google's decided to do this, and whether it's the pressure from potential regulation that you're looking at being the cause or something else, I don't know. But I think big tech is going through a little bit of a reckoning. I think most people want it to be a little bit more forceful than it will be.
Right.
I don't think the government will really do much, but I think we're starting to understand that maybe these companies that, yes, wrap themselves in this idea of like, we're improving the world in some way, while they did a lot of good, they're also starting to do a lot of bad. And so we have to be a little bit more nuanced in how we look at this technology and regulate it.
Well, well said. Bear in mind, is if I didn't stipulate this earlier, this is Google Chrome. It's not Google killing it. It's Google Chrome browser will not be honoring those third-party cookies, which is their plan was to actually make sure that they are protecting the consumer's data. That's the entire impetus to this change, and they're looking at not honoring cookies in 2022. However, the problem here is that there are so many companies, marketing companies, that are utilizing this as the tracking source. So you're talking about HubSpot, you're talking about Marketo, you're talking about a number of these applications that rely solely on these trackable components. So now, I mean, the advertisers they're saying they're not angry, but just disappointed with Google. The tone in the industry, I mean, Some of them have been a bit explosive. Others are just, they knew it was coming because this has already been started to be implemented a little bit earlier. Back in actually, we're referencing 2017. The long story short is, if you're in Google Sandbox and Google is wanting to comply with government regulations, either instilled or at least even discussed in government, now they're trying to get on the other side of the privacy data conundrum all these large platforms are in. This is a tool to actually engage with the entire internet, not just the search engine, but it is a tool from Google nonetheless, right? So you're still going to have other browsers that can still utilize those cookies and still honor those cookies, but Google's trying to clean themselves as much as possible.
If I'm speaking to maybe not the tech vendors that rely on this type of technology, but
Right.
to the end user, the person who's trying to market their business, who's trying to shift the culture for the better, who's trying to serve their audience, not just make a quick buck. And I am speaking only to those people because the rest of the hucksters can get the hell out of here. I believe that we've built this myth in our brains that we can just rely on all these technology companies as if they're open forums, as if they're not private companies that care about themselves and nobody else. And you see this in my world of content marketing, where I've done very little advertising in my career. It's all been content marketing. And I look around people who are building audiences and they're building giant YouTube channels. Mistake. They're building on Medium. Mistake for their blogs. They're building a Facebook page, and this is years ago, building brand Facebook pages, and you saw what happened there, where the organic reach goes to near zero. So these companies care about themselves and nobody else. And if you are marketing, again, not advertising, marketing, you should be thinking about, how do I actually build something on a platform I own? So there's a difference. There's a difference between what you, where you distribute and what you promote. Sure, if you have a video show, put it on YouTube for discovery. But if you're going to go and tweet about it or tell someone about it, hey, what's the URL, Aaron?
Right.
Now you point them to your own domain. So become discoverable on YouTube. But when you actively promote yourself, bring it back to a channel you own and control, because these third parties have proven time and time again not to care about any other business but themselves, nor should they.
No, you're absolutely right. Another article that we wanted to bring up here into our news section as well is there are some well, it's not only rumblings. All SEOs are in concert saying that there was a full January 2020 Google Core update. Now that the Google actual January Core update has actually rolled through, and that was official January 14th. Barry Schwartz over at Search Engine Land is actually asking a number of different data providers to send us what they are actually seeing from those results. So we in our video can actually see a number of the different tremors that we're looking here with the volatility of the change here. Citrix chart is showing a huge jump of visibility changes, as well as search metrics, and also caught SEM Rush, not in this article, but they're all showing a number of explosive changes right here. So we don't know what the ramifications are on this core update. We here at Site Strategics are seeing some changes for the positive for some of our clients. But long story short, you have to be watching this data on a regular basis. If you're in the SEO field, you need to be paying attention to the subject matter experts that are out there, and they're relaying information with all eyes on the dials as quickly as they can get a hold of it. We are coming out of the holiday season, so Google at least put a little bit of a 2-week spread against actually doing the core change, so we wouldn't be confused on just a seasonal shift. So Jay, I know you're not in the SEO realm, but you certainly heard tremors about all this, right?
I spent 100% of my time doing marketing, essentially creating content, thinking about marketing, helping other marketers.
Are you saying that this did not come by your radar?
Look, when you deal with a frenemy, just assume that what makes that person a frenemy is that sometimes they are good to you and sometimes they are bad to you. And it all comes back to what we said before, which is they will be selfish, right?
Absolutely.
Can we not, okay?
You just blow up something? No, you're absolutely
I just don't
right.
understand why we keep chasing our own tails over, like, they're good, they're bad, we're panicking, we're not panicking. You have to care all about SEO. You don't have to care about SEO. Like, we keep doing these incremental things in marketing. We care about like that one channel.
Right.
We care about that one technology. And the less we spend time actually caring about that stuff is time we can get back focusing on our customers. Because it turns out if you pay more attention to your customers than to the industry, the customer pays more attention to you.
People are freaking out on what they just lost, right? And that's all the ramifications.
Totally understandable. But we need to now build towards the future where we will never get into that situation again.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is that Google's doing it for a reason. So what you lost, you may have not earned to begin with, so why fret about some extraneous or erroneous search traffic that may not have even led to conversions? You're absolutely right. You got to focus on the customers, so don't worry about where you're drifting in your keyword clusters.
Right.
Focus on the interaction of the consumer, because ultimately, if you're distracted by a position here or there, you're not paying attention to what's truly important. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
There's something called Goodhart's law, which says that when a measure becomes the goal, it's no longer a good measure, right? So the goal, we talk about our goals in marketing like it's grow search traffic X%, grow the email list Y%. Those are not goals, those are measures of the goal. The goal is to create a website that actually has authority, that actually teaches and becomes the informational leader in whatever topics you're exploring. The goal is to create a newsletter worthy of people's significant time and repetitive opening and reading every week. Those are the real goals, right? And how are we measuring it? We have to question whether or not we're actually pairing the right measurement to the goal. And so when you get into this mode of our jobs as marketers are to arbitrage opportunities, that's a race to the bottom, right? Things quickly run to the person who is the, I guess, least ethical or least willing to actually care about the foundation of what we're doing, the human element. Not saying that is all SEOs by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever, right? But you do have to question the fact that, yes, when there's these things that, like you said, is it actually working? Is it actually worthy? Is it building a brand in this world of infinite choice? Now it's like, well, what if we actually stopped caring about this stuff a little bit and reinvested those time and resources into things that we're a little bit more secure in, things that if you look under the hood, it's not just about driving traffic and these like empty passersby. It's actually about people that stick and stay, because that's what good marketing is.
It's literally the maturation of marketing is that if you're, I mean, I hate to say this to SEOs out there, but if you're in an immature space of just looking at the ranks, right? Now, you can certainly understand intent, and search intent and customer intent. I get that, but there's much more behavior analysis that you should be doing on your collective properties as well as the destination property that you fully manage. So again, we're at the behest of Google changing up things because it's looking to improve content to its users. Let them do that, right? Make sure you're delivering the best content on a regular basis and the best engagement. So
I can't tell you, if you're proactive as a marketer, I can't tell you a team that I've worked with or seen where they feel like their jobs are not based on the idea that they don't want to get fired. Their jobs are based on the proactive service of an audience, the proactive building of their brands. Those teams almost never panic over these things. So when marketers do panic over these things, I have to question, like, what's the environment you're working in? Can we talk to the leadership of our industry a little bit more overtly, where when these incremental changes happen and we panic, why do we panic? Let's look under the hood at that, because if we can change that, we can be better at everything we're doing, whether it's SEO or something else.
You're absolutely right. And if you're panicking, you're probably looking at the wrong thing. You're absolutely right. Last thing that we want you to look at, and honestly, a podcast should be screaming for joy, not panicking, is an article from Impact announcing that Spotify is introducing a game-changing ad technology for podcasts. And we're going to be talking about podcasts today in the show. But this month, Spotify announced this new approach to its podcast marketing technology. The property, Streaming Ad Insertion, SAI, allows Spotify's sponsors to deliver targeted ads to podcast listeners through the use of the real-time data analysis. Now, you know, the difference between streaming and downloads, such as Libsyn, is that you're literally downloading it. There's no interception of that audio or video, for that matter. In the streaming space, you absolutely can real-time understand the audience, their participation, their engagement, what qualifies them as a potential customer for that ad. They're rolling this out, and I can't tell you enough about how happy I am to be able to see platforms like this be able to provide this next level of technology for podcasters, because it was sorely needed in this industry. I'm going to give you the last word, Jay.
Yeah, the impulse that I have is to, when you think about the conversation in podcasting, it tends to bifurcate between those who have been in the industry a while and what I am in some people's minds, which is like the Huns coming over the wall. It's, the marketers, the people who think with a business lens and stuff, but it's incumbent upon us to have this mentality of service,
right,
this mentality of saying something worth saying, not trying to, again, arbitrage an opportunity. So my hope here is that as these big platforms like Spotify begin to offer better advertising technology, we embrace the principles more akin to sponsorship. Advertising rewards the transaction of the audience, right? And so what that does to the creator is it says to them, you need to create this type of content to get money from this advertiser, or you need to create a broader, AKA kind of more bottom of the funnel, or a bottom of the pyramid, lowest common denominator content, right? You need to create the BuzzFeed of podcasting. And there's a place and a time for that, but we have all these quality programs and we have all these people that are using this beautiful medium that is audio to go deep, to resonate, not just reach. Right. And as soon as you bring in something that rewards reach, you can really water down the content. So what I'm hoping this does is it lets a few good actors monetize their content a little bit better to actually get the revenue they deserve as good hosts and creators and servants of their audience. But I'm really worried about the downside here, which is just like any other medium, look at blogging as a good comp. It really does reward. Advertising rewards sensationalism, extremism, the most eyeballs on things. And historically, that's not what podcasts are good for. So I'm a little hesitant about this.
Understood. Well, we certainly thank you for the deep dive of the news. We're certainly going to go more into that deep dive with Jay in our upcoming interview right now. So that's it for the news, and we'll be back to talk to you next week.